He's back. Hi, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
This is Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality. But on today's program, we are talking about the fact that Larry, round of applause, is back with me in the studio. 2 weeks ago, he had a major bicycle accident, 5 days in the hospital. He's been home for about 10 days now. And so he wanted to come on, tell y'all about what he remembers about the accident. We'll talk about some lessons that we learned from a frugal perspective that impacted some of the things we did right in the hospital and some of the things we kind of wish we'd done differently.
Basically, what happened was I went on a really nice bike ride. I didn't take a lot of pictures on this bike ride because I've taken so many, but I rode up a couple of county roads in Peoria County, and then I just turned around in place and came back. So I probably did about a 22, 23 mile bike ride. Somehow, when I was riding down the hill to where our house is located, I fell, or the bike fell apart. We do have some parts that came off of the bike. We don't know what happened there. A fender in the front wheel came off, and we don't have that information. One of the things that I did have that I got to say right away is I had this helmet on, and this is the Zinto helmet. And I want to show you something interesting. Look at the lights. The lights all work correctly on the helmet. I'll have to click it a couple of times to turn those off. But I'm really amazed. This helmet is designed for 35 miles an hour speeds on an e-bike. It's designed for riding a heavier e-bike, and this is designed for basically 35 miles an hour. Now, the helmet is not in the condition that it originally was. As you can see, the part of the front is falling down. There's a lot of plastic that's out of place because I came down hard on the pavement, literally during the part of the bike ride right next door to this house is where I went down on the street. And I have no memory. I really don't know what happened. It was a major impact. And I'm kind of slow. I'm not working quite up to speed today. So it has definitely affected me. But I'm in really good shape, much better shape, because of the protection of wearing a bicycle helmet designed for riding with an e-bike. So I'm very thankful to Zinto for the company that provided this helmet for me to wear during that ride.
We should say that Zinto reached out to us probably 6 months ago and asked if they could send him this helmet as a free sample. So we did get this as a sample helmet, so y'all should know that. But clearly the doctors really lauded the fact that he was wearing a helmet and that the helmet probably saved him from massive, massive amounts of injury. We did reach out to Zinto and we thanked them and wrote to them about this story, and they have provided us with a special link and a 10% off discount code for Under the Median viewers. So if you want a really great helmet for bicycling or e-biking, then that link will be in the description of this video. We can't say enough good about the Zinto company and their helmets.
I liked the helmet very much even before the accident. I could tell that it was well designed. I like the chin support, the way that it fastens around your neck. It's just a very nice, quality, well-made, well-designed helmet. So I was very thankful. And that saved me from having a lot of head trauma that I would have had. I did have a little minor brain bleed the first couple nights of the accident, and I broke this arm. This arm right here is broke.
Remove the helmet.
Yeah.
There you go.
I have to literally pick it up and hold it and put it in place whenever I'm resting for the evening. But I'm very, very thankful. I'm thankful to God for his provisions during this accident. I'm thankful for all of you and all the prayer support and other support that we've gotten from viewers. We're very, very thankful for all of you as well.
We did have a lot of viewers that reached out to us. Several of you wanted to know, do we have a post office box so you can send Larry a get well card? Yes, we do. I'll make sure that the post office box is listed in the description of this video in case you want to send Larry a card letting him know that you're thinking about him, praying for him. The doctors, the prognosis is 3 to 6 months, and they do expect a full recovery from all of his injuries. In case you're kind of feeling like, wait a minute, I didn't know anything about this, we'll catch you up to speed. I did a video about a week ago when we'd gotten home from the hospital that sort of let you all know like exactly what happened and what was going on at that point. I'm going to make sure that video, in case you haven't seen it, is linked up above. and in the description of this video.
I'm not wearing my normal glasses. I usually have a pair of glasses about like Hope's. They're brown, and those are the only ones I've ever worn all the time we've done these videos, with the exception of one other video. I think I was wearing my old wire frames, but my glasses got all bent up and they're all scratched on one lens where what happened was I went down forward, right down into the pavement of the street. And I don't know if I went slightly below the pavement level or what, but I went from the bike just straight down, flat on my face, all down the front. So the glasses took the brunt of that along with the helmet. And so I'm not able to wear my other pair until we get those fixed.
We kind of want to walk you through a little bit of the hospital journey and definitely some of the things that we learned going through this experience that will hopefully help you if you have an unexpected emergency. I think one of the things that we discovered immediately that we needed, and in a weird way, like we had it, we just hadn't filled it out yet, is a medical binder. Now, some good friends of ours, Timberly and Andre, actually sell a medical binder. Living Our Priorities is their website. And we purchased one from them when they first came out with the medical binder. They know a thing or two about this because they both have faced ongoing medical issues. And at one point, the reason they even created the medical binder is because Timberly passed out in their kitchen, just fell over, and Andre found her unresponsive, called 911, and grabbed the medical binder on his way out the door to head to the hospital, and had all the information that the medical staff needed. The medical binder it's a fillable PDF. It has
basic information, your basic information that you're going to need should you have to go to the hospital. Now, in my case, I was unconscious when Hope first saw me. I was bleeding. It looked like I was bleeding through my nose. It looked like I was bleeding from an ear, but that wasn't the case. So it looked worse to Hope at first when she first discovered me than I actually am. So it would have been nice had she had that binder to grab, to have taken with her to the hospital, to give to the hospital for the basic information that they would have needed on me, like what medicines am I allergic to, and what prescriptions am I currently on. They didn't really have any of that information available to them because we hadn't yet filled out that binder.
Or they had erroneous information, which I kept coming up against over and over again when he was in the hospital. So guys, medical binder. As I mentioned, our friends sell one. You can put one together yourself that has all the information about, contact information for all of your physicians, your insurance information, medical conditions, medicines that you're currently on, a space for notes that you can take notes for when you have meetings with doctors, upcoming appointments, all that stuff.
What's discussed during those meetings.
Yeah, you can put it together yourself, but if you want it all put together for you and it's a fillable PDF, we're going to make sure that we leave our affiliate link for the medical binder. It'll be in the description of this video. I wish we're going to fill it out now, okay? Now it's going to be filled out.
Yes. I got to say this. I want to say this about Hope. It really pays to have a good medical advocate on your side. And Hope knew the questions to ask people. She knew kind of how to respond. She took charge right away, and she's been such a blessing to me. She's helped me so much, and we try to have fun during the recoup time. I can't take a bath by myself yet, and we were in there just joking and laughing and having some fun doing that. And I think it's important to do that if you can at all. Make some light of the situation. It does make it go by a lot better.
There has to be a moment where I think you have that period of gratefulness. And now that he's past like the worst of it, now I can like joke about him being one-armed and, it's a one-armed bandit. He's, and you come up with these funny quips where you both can kind of laugh together. And the other thing is, I think we have had a lot of moments where we recognized this could have been
much worse.
Could
have been much worse. Oh, it really could have been. Had I not had that helmet on, I could have, frankly, I could have been killed.
Absolutely.
I could have been killed in this accident. I'll just be honest. That's where it could have ended up. The impact was that severe on me that I could have not made it through. And so I'm very thankful, and I'm just full of thanks for being here and being with her and being able to be on the program again. By golly, that's kind of nice too.
Well, I think too, we recognize that had he been on one of those lovely two-lane country roads that he was talking about, he could have been in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But he was probably 40 feet from our front door when this happened. He was right in front of our neighbor's driveway. Our neighbor works in the medical field. She works at the hospital. She's familiar with medical terminology, with knowing how to deal with the 911 operators. She happened to look out her window right after he fell and ran to his aid.
Oh, she
and
was
then
a real
when she
big
knew
help.
that there were people watching him, she ran over and said, "You need to come out." And sadly, I was so befuddled. I'm like, "Do I know you?" And she's like, "I'm your neighbor." I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." She's like, "No worries." That woman is so going to get a thank you card from us and some flowers very, very soon.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So we recognize that there was a providential hand, that the hand of God was guiding it, even when we were going through, all the horribleness and the shock, really, of sort of, moving through it. And it seemed like it took forever. Everything goes into slow motion.
It does.
When you're in a crisis situation, you're like, why is the ambulance not coming? Why is it taking so long? And it really isn't taking that long. It just feels like that in your own head. But I mean, interesting, our son was on his way to his fiance's apartment, now his wife, a block and a half down the road from where we live. And he just happened to be driving down the street right after Larry face planted on the ground. And he's like, "Oh my word, that's my dad." And so just having our kids immediately here with us, it was
really nice.
There were things that happened in the order in which they happened. We recognize that even though you're going through it, that God still had a hand of control on what was happening.
And I got to say, too, in regards to what we've learned about going through this experience, is for me, life is going to be completely different for a while. I'm not going to be back out on the bike. The bike really isn't rideable the way it is right now.
No.
I'm not able to ride it. I have no desire to get back on it the way I feel right now. And life is going to be changed for us. It may be changed for several months down the road. And you have to be willing to accept those changes and do what you need to do to make those changes happen for you, to make your life work, because it still has to work. And I'm able to sit upstairs and read a book. I can walk up and down our stairs. I can get around the house without a cane now. I can get around with just my own 2 feet. So I'm very thankful. I've got most of my mobility back now. It's going to be a little while before it's all back. However, one thing I've noticed is that I was in the car with her yesterday going to pick up Philip from work, and everything looks different in motion in the car. It all looks strange and odd to me, the way things go by the windows. I'm just not used to the way the movement looks different to me. And I know that will change as I get better and as I heal up from this accident more.
I do want to talk some more about advocating for your loved one, whether in the hospital, because there's some really specific things that I actually learned that I think are important to communicate. But some of you remembered when he had his accident, it was exactly 1 week before our son's wedding, because I just mentioned it was his fiance, now it's his wife. Larry was able to get to the wedding. He went down the aisle. He walked on his own steam behind me down the aisle. He had a cane that he walked with, and he was able to go to about, I think, an hour-ish of the reception before he finally called it a day and said, I need to go home.
And Hope had provided some good friends of ours, friends that we've known for 40 years. I mean, these are longtime friends, to kind of watch after me and take care of me. They brought me home, and they stayed with me until Hope was free to come home and then be with me for the evening. That really made the day very well. The wedding was beautiful. Of course, it was a beautiful wedding. My son had really, I think, one of the best weddings he could have ever asked for. The weather was perfect. And right now, I'm having a little trouble remembering all about the wedding. Although I was pretty sharp during the wedding, my mind just kind of gets a little foggy when I look back on some of that history. It's getting better, though.
Do you remember referring to Dale as your personal assistant?
No, I don't.
That was way too much fun for me. I have my personal assistant here with me.
Oh, did I?
Yes. Dale was your personal assistant. So there you go.
I've talked to him on the phone several times since, so I'll have to say that. Yeah, it pays to have good people in your life to help you through a crisis.
We will post wedding videos. We're not going to do it on this video because the kids just got back. yesterday. In fact, they just stopped by shortly before we.
Well, and they're going
recorded
to
this
be
video.
guests on this program.
They are. That's what I was going to say.
In the future, James and Hannah are going to come on and talk about the things that weren't so, what do you call it, frugal in their wedding. They're going to talk about that. It's real
There were
cute.
some things. They stuck to his budget. They knew they needed a concrete, firm budget before they started, but it was interesting for us to watch where they put their money and where they seriously frugalized huge portions of their wedding, and they are.
Oh, they did a great job.
They're really excited to do that, but we feel like it's their privilege to reveal those photos to y'all.
They're going to have a little fun with this. It's not going to be all real serious either. They want to have some fun with it. Video.
This is a good point for us to say, though, that if you're not subscribed to Under the Median, you don't want to miss the frugal wedding episode. So make sure that you're subscribed and you hit the bell notification button, and do us a super big favor, guys. On YouTube, it's all about the thumbs up and all about the views. So make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video for us, will you?
Yeah, that does.
All right, back to advocating for your loved one.
Okay.
One of the things that I did was, first of all, I did not leave his side for 5 days.
No.
It was really important to me that if it's possible, have someone there at the hospital. I advocated for him because he wouldn't remember stuff, and I'd go, and the nurse would ask him questions, and I'd say, no, this is the real answer. They're like,
well, they asked me how many steps there were to the house. I think I said 30.
It was 30.
Not 30 steps.
She looked at me and I said,
yeah, there's not 30 steps to the house. I don't know where I was.
One step going
from.
in the front door. And we finally figured out that there are like 15 steps going from our upstairs to our basement. And there are 15 steps going down the side of the house because it's a walkout ranch, so that you can, there's a door that actually goes out of the basement. It's a full-size door. And we think that somehow, weirdly in his head, his brain was adding the two sets of steps together.
Yeah.
And coming up with the number 30 because he kept insisting to her that it was 30 steps. But they would ask him, what happened, and he would give them a story that was not accurate. So they would come in later if I had not been in the room and say, so we understand you were in a car accident. We understand. And I'm like, no. Here's what happened. So advocating and being present as often as possible to repeat things. You will have to repeat things to staff. They don't know everything. But the other thing that I will say I kept doing is asking them, are you giving him pain medication? He only had pain medication twice in the hospital. The first night about 2 a.m. they gave him some pain medication, and the second night at 2 a.m. they gave him some pain medication. That was the only time. So if I get a bill that says pain medication 10 times, I'm going to go, no. Because I kept repeatedly saying, are you giving him any pain medication? What is that pill you're giving him? What is that pill for? They kept saying, well, we're going to give him a breathing treatment. I'm like, why are you giving him a breathing treatment? Well, he needs it for his asthma. He does not have asthma. No. Well, does he use an inhaler at home? I said, no, he does not.
I don't have an inhaler.
And somehow they had this on their records that he was using an inhaler that he need. And I'm like, well, this will fit in your inhaler at home. I'm like, he doesn't have one at home. He doesn't. So you have to be prepared and be kind. This is the other thing I will say. When you are advocating for your loved one, nurses don't know everything. They're reading from a chart.
And they're trying hard to get the correct information.
They are.
Yeah.
Be kind to that nursing staff. We had the most outstanding experience I think we've ever had at a hospital. It was OSF in Peoria. I'm going to give them a shout out. St. Francis Medical Center. Every single person that walked in that room, you could tell they were happy to be working there.
Yeah.
You could tell that they felt like they were part of a team. And I cannot heap enough praise on the staff from St. Francis Medical Center and how they treated us when we were in there.
Very good.
So, and did they have all the facts straight every time? No. But you can't expect that. You just have to be gracious. And I know it's a stressful situation, but be kind. Y'all who are nurses, thank you for what you do.
We really respect what you do. If you're in nursing, you got quite a profession there. Really, it's very important.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask what's going on. The other thing I would say is limit visitors. Do you remember the visitors at all?
I remember a couple of them by name. A couple of good friends of ours that meant a lot to me personally. I remember seeing them, and I do remember some, but I don't remember any of the conversation at this point that I had with them. I can't remember any of that now. My brain was injured. I mean, I went down hard, face down into the cement, so it was jarred pretty bad during those first few days.
I will say, so keep the funny stuff for later because it will be kind of funny later. The first night our kids came in, and we have 4 sons. Our oldest is almost 27. Our youngest is just 15. Our 15-year-old walked in, and Larry looked at me. He goes, "Hey, Phil, I got champagne in mine." And he's like, "You got champagne in what, Dad?" And he points to his IV. And he's like, "Dad, they put champagne in your IV?" He's like, "Just in mine. There's champagne in there."
I don't remember that at all.
I'm like, okay. So just file that away. There will be moments. Perhaps that was not the moment for levity. But later, it is kind of a weird family lore story.
I think that was part of my brain misfunction more than it was levity at that point.
So if you were going to ask for something, it would not be champagne.
No,
it would
no,
definitely be a dark beer. It would be ale. So I would be surprised that that was not in your IV. But champagne. I'm thinking, you were thinking about the upcoming wedding. I don't even know.
I don't know.
So there was a champagne in Larry's IV. But keep those stories and kind of file them away because later there will be moments of levity when stuff honestly is a little bit funny. At the time, it's not, but just kind of.
And the funny moments help you get through the dark, difficult times. Now, to be honest, at night I'm not really sleeping very much. I'm in a lot of pain. My shoulder hurts quite a bit. It got injured pretty bad where the arm broke. And so at night I just sit and I watch YouTube videos and I keep them down real low to try to make sure that she's sleeping because she's sleeping in the back of the basement. I'm sleeping where the family room is, to give her some time to take some time out to rebuild herself because she's been so busy. Oh my gosh, has Hope been busy? But it's nice to be able to balance out whatever you need to do to make things work. Now, what's kind of funny is that in the daytime, I get sleepy, and I've been sleeping some in the daytime, and Hope goes, "I just let you sleep." I said, "For right now, I just got to get it whenever I can and not worry about what time it is."
I feel like I'm a toddler again. I'm like, come on, let's stay awake a little more during the day so that we switch that clock. So at night you're sleeping.
We'll switch it. We'll get it right. I'll get it right.
So another moment of levity. I slept in the recliner right next to him in the family room for probably the first 5 or 6 days. And finally I said, "I've got to lay flat. I'm sorry, honey. I love you, but you're able to get up now, make your way to the restroom at night without stumbling. I can do it without help. I feel like you're stable enough that I can be a few feet away from you in the back of the basement." So I laid down on the bed, and I was so exhausted. I pass out. I'm so tired. I'm sleeping. I'm in a sound sleep, and he wakes me up, and he says, "Where are the oats?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Where's the oatmeal? You moved the oatmeal." And I'm like, I look out the window and I can see, I'm like, it's pitch black. I'm like, "Honey?"
It was about 6:00 in the morning, and I was running to get breakfast for Daniel, who was getting ready to go to work early. And believe it or not, even through some of the worst of this, I've been able to make oatmeal on the stove and get the oats and measure them into a measuring cup and also make the coffee. I've been able to make the coffee.
Well, that was the first morning you'd done that, though.
Yeah, it was.
And I was so tired. I set the oats over there and I went back to sleep. I was soundly asleep. I woke up 2 hours later. He goes, "I made the oatmeal." I'm like, "Oh, thank God." Because I would never have forgiven myself if I'd been so tired I went back to sleep and like something bad happened because he was trying to make oatmeal. But we now know that he can make oatmeal. And I told him, I said, "Look, dude, it is dark o'clock." And Dan's not even getting up for at least another hour. And he's like, "I need to make the oatmeal." I'm like, oh my goodness. That was another kind of humorous moment in the midst of all the not so humorous moments that we've had. The other thing I would say about advocating, this is free flowing, guys. We're just kind of telling you the story.
We're not looking off. We got notes written down. We're not paying any attention to them.
These notes mean nothing to us at this point.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to accept, like when it comes to home health, he's had a physical therapist and an occupational therapist, which we agreed totally with the hospital that was wise when he first came home.
Probably a good idea.
But he's getting around really, really well now. So I think we're going to go ahead and tell the occupational therapist. No, the occupational therapist is the one for your shoulder. He's going to keep coming back.
Yeah.
The physical therapist was working with his walking and stuff. He's doing
Don't
We
need him.
feel like we're going to have a discussion with them and say,
Yeah.
we think we're ready to like not have you come. But before you do that, contact your insurance company. Insurance pays different. Every insurance company pays differently. And so we need to ask them. So if we stop this service now, and let's say, I don't know, so for some reason in 4 weeks from now, we feel like, oh, he needs a little more help with walking. Is that considered a separate service? Is that a continued service? What do we need to do to ensure that these bills continue to be paid?
Yeah.
You have to be in constant contact with your insurance company to ask those kind of questions.
It's a matter of planning out what you need to do and what you'll need. Sometimes we don't know what we need. We don't know what I'm going to need exactly in, say, 4 or 5 weeks. I don't know what my needs will be. I have an idea, but it might be something that we don't know for sure. So we need to ask questions and get the details on how to do it.
The other thing that I would say, I know I keep saying the other thing I would say, another thing I would say is, I'm going to say my favorite word. Are you ready?
Prioritize. Right?
Prioritize what you do first, second, and third. So we kind of had our own list of priorities as to what we thought was most important to work on first, second, and third. You'll notice his glasses, we still don't have the lenses changed in his other glasses. For one thing, I don't think they're going to be able to save the frames. I think we're going to have to start from scratch.
No.
We did not even call the optometrist because he didn't need to. He could see to get from point A to point B in the house, but he certainly wasn't going to be driving or riding a bike or anything. So we set that on hold until his most immediate things like his shoulder and his arm and his immediate pain level had subsided to the point where we thought, okay, now we're ready to deal with the glasses.
Yeah.
I think having a prioritized list of here's what we're looking at and making sure you're kind of working the list in a way that makes you satisfied and you know what's most important to you to deal with.
Yeah, that does help. And I don't have to see perfectly. This is an old prescription, and actually I can see better through the middle prescription for distance than I can the distance ones. But I don't have to have perfect vision right now. It's not that important to me. So whatever I can see with these, this is certainly better than not wearing any glasses. So you just take what works. What is working for you right now and make that work. That's the best thing to do.
One of the other things we learned, have a centralized hub for conveying information. I would spend an hour on the phone answering texts every morning from people who are like, what's today's update? So it would have been so much easier if we'd had one
a hub for them to go to
who was in charge of disseminating information. Now, I will say, like, I had my prayer warriors on speed dial. Does anybody else know what I'm talking about? Tell me in the comment section. If something happens in your life and you got your list of, like, prayer warriors and, like, these people are on speed dial, tell me if you understand what I'm talking about. Those people, I texted each of them individually because they don't all know each other. I don't think that we have this down to a science, and we're really interested what you guys think the best methodology is of dealing with this sort of thing where people need information, or you have, 6 people that if you text them at 2 a.m., they're waiting with their phone next to them and they will drop to their knees and start praying right away. We had 6 people that were like that, but I text them all individually because they didn't all know each other. And so it felt weird to text them all at once.
I think what would have worked a little bit better if we just devoted a Facebook page to what I was going through and what my updates were. And then people could just go there and read one message that day of how I was doing and then pray or respond accordingly to that. That would have been a little bit easier. But we don't always think of everything,
Yeah, well, until emergencies happen, and then you figure this kind of stuff out.
That's right.
Take a deep breath and wait. All right, don't overreact until you know the facts. I will say, once again, the medical staff was outstanding at letting me know. We did a CT scan. So here's what we know about that. It's a brain bleed. It's a very, very small brain bleed.
Yeah.
Here's what we know about his wrist. Here's what we know. And they helped us to sort of knock off all of the really horrible things that could be happening
Yep.
At first, and then work our way down to things that were less invasive, I guess.
Well, that helped take a lot of the mystery out
Yeah.
of the situation because, once again, like I said, when Hope first saw me, she wasn't even sure I was alive.
I didn't know.
That's where she
It was
started.
like a bad CSI episode.
That's where she started from. So she started from probably the worst position you could possibly be put into, and the medical profession, little by little, started delineating exactly what condition that I was in and where I would be and how long it would take to get through some of them. They gave her some guidance on it'll take him a little while before he's able to do this on his own or do that on his own, and we got to do a couple of procedures for him right now in order for him to function at all. And they had to do some emergency procedures on me that she had to okay for. I think he had to okay for some of those.
Speaking of that, okaying. Power of attorney. If you do not have medical power of attorney and legal power of attorney for your spouse or your partner, do it now.
Yeah.
I had medical power of attorney for him, so I could make those decisions. Otherwise, I could not have. Make sure that there is a list of people that the medical professionals know they can give information to because of all the privacy acts now.
Yeah.
Right now, they could give information to me. They could give information to our two oldest sons. Those people are all on the list. If you have a child who has reached the age of majority, which in the United States is 18 years of age, they should have you down as their power of attorney.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, they go to the hospital. That hospital is not going to tell you anything. And you will not be able to make any decisions. The hospital staff will be making those decisions. So please, please, please make sure that you have that done if you have not. In fact, James and Hannah just stopped by. They just got back from their honeymoon and they stopped by. And we're like, hey, by the way, guys, welcome home. And you all need to get medical power of attorney for one another like this week. And they're like, what? So we explained to them like what happened. And they're like, we'll do that right away as soon as we get settled in.
It's good so that you can have a say in the other person's medical correction that they get in the hospital right away. That's very important.
All right, let's talk about bills. We don't have any yet. Something happens and you're not going to get a bill for quite some time. We heard immediately from our insurance company that they had received the information that he had been in an accident. They let us know immediately that they were covering all of the hospital bills. Whether they cover the ambulance right or not, we do not know yet. We are assuming they will because there was no way to transport him without that ambulance.
No, they'll cover that.
Yeah, so we're assuming that's going to be covered.
Yeah.
Keep in close contact with your insurance company. And if you're going to make any changes, like I talked about earlier, like the change with us saying, okay, I feel like we're done with physical therapy, but occupational therapy needs to go ahead and go on for at least another week. Make sure you convey that information to them ahead of time so they can tell you what the best way is to deal with that so that it's all continuing to be covered. And this is another one of those lean-in moments. Don't pay a bill unless they have given you an itemized bill. Mm-hmm. Itemized bill, guys. An itemized bill is going to tell you exactly down to sutures and Band-Aids what you are being charged for. It just happens in the hospital system that sometimes you are charged for things like the champagne in Larry's IV. I know, but
we don't know why, but the hospital didn't cover that expense. I don't know why they didn't cover that.
And all kidding aside, they kept offering him breathing treatments. They kept offering him inhalers when he didn't have an inhaler, when he didn't use inhalers, when he didn't use steroid treatments. He never has. For some reason, that was on his chart. They kept saying, here is this. And I was like, what is that pill? Why are you giving him that pill? What does that pill do? How many of these pills have you given him? You want all that information, and because they should have that. If they have that down there, if they have all the steroid treatments down on that itemized bill, you betcha I'm going to be saying, you didn't do this.
Yeah, and then we need to find out from then, where did this other information come from that said that I needed an inhaler when I've never had one. So we need to find out what the source of that and get that removed off of my record accounts entirely. One of the most important things that you'll need for planning for your future is simply make a game plan. Where are you at right now? What do you need to do to get to where you need to be? What are the steps involved? And one of the ways that that's helped us kind of fill in those gaps is by talking to my general practitioner, who I've known for over almost 30 years now. He's been my general practitioner. And he's very, very well aware of my history, my medical history. So in talking over with him, he was able to give us a really good scope and sequence as to what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 weeks for my care. That then gave us a very good specific plan to work from, to decide, okay, here's what we need to plan money-wise, here's what we need to plan time-wise, here's what we need to plan for me to be able to do these things to get to the point where I need to be healthy again.
Dr. San German's also been really good at looking at me and saying, don't Google it. Don't Google it. Hope. Somebody take Google away from that woman. So, yeah, because I tend to get real scary and say, well, I Googled this. He's like, just don't. Just stop. Listen to me. Look into my eyes. This is the game plan. You over Google and then you freak out. So that's the other upside of having a general practitioner for 30 years is he can kind of help you rein in your propensity for Googling.
I will just say this. He happens to be an exceptionally good doctor, and he's really a good family friend. When I go in there, I call him a friend at this point because we really are. He's just a great guy.
The other thing our general practitioner has been really good at is helping us figure out like what's necessary maybe and what's not necessary. Yeah. And he's very good at saying, I think you might want to get a second opinion on that before you take that step. But yeah, having someone who is in your corner who knows what all the different specialists are doing.
Yeah, or what they're capable of being able to do to help you out. They may not be capable to help you in your situation because it doesn't really apply to your specific needs.
Here's the other thing that you have to be super aware of when it comes to paying when the bills start coming in. Guys, you have to have an emergency fund.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Look, 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that includes 50% of Americans who make $100,000 a year or more.
Yeah.
40% of Americans couldn't pay for a $400 emergency without taking out a loan or actually claiming bankruptcy because they don't have the $400 to spend on the emergency. You have to have an emergency fund. Start with $2,000. It doesn't take much to raise $2,000 by just simply selling off stuff that's in your house that you don't need to have in your house. Yep. Get at least $2,000 socked away for an emergency fund. And then after you've paid all of your outstanding debts, increase it to 3 to 6 months. We have a 6-month emergency fund, fully funded emergency fund. This is when you need it because emergencies do not announce themselves before they come about.
They do not.
Make sure you have an emergency fund.
And the other thing too, once you have a good, well-established and well-funded emergency fund, if you have to use it, make sure that you pay that fund back as quickly as you can and rebuild it so you have that once again for a possible future event.
Let's just say that you don't have an emergency fund or it's not fully funded, or even if you have a fully funded emergency fund and you're thinking, boy, I could really use some extra cash every single month in order to put toward goals that I have in my life and maybe beef up the emergency fund because, stuff is costing a lot more these days than it did even 24 months ago. If you want some ideas on how to stop living paycheck to paycheck and live beneath your means, ways that you can actually cut your expenses that you maybe don't immediately see when you look at your own budget. We did a video on it, and we talked about 10 ways that we cut our budget in order to live beneath our means. That video is right over there, guys. Give it a look.